The cold wind howled through the open-air auction yard as 10-year-old Adam stood on his toes, peering over the crowd of bidders. His heart pounded against his ribs, not from excitement, but from the sheer weight of the moment. This wasn't just any auction. This was his chance to save a life. The auctioneer's voice boomed across the lot. Next up, a male bobcat, approximately 4 years old. Sickly condition, minimal use. Starting bid at $50. Adam's small hands clenched into fists. The bobcat, barely moving inside a cramped metal cage, looked weak. Its fur was matted, and its ribs pressed against its thin coat. There was no fire in its eyes, only exhaustion. $50, someone muttered without much enthusiasm. 55. Another voice called, likely someone looking to use the poor creature for its pelt. Adam swallowed hard. He had exactly $60, saved up for months of doing odd chores for neighbors. It wasn't much, but it was everything to him. He shot his hand up. $60. A few heads turned toward him. What was a kid doing bidding on a sick bobcat? The auctioneer hesitated, looking over the top of his glasses at the scrawny boy standing among seasoned bidders. $60 going once. Adam held his breath, his fingers trembling. Going twice. The silence stretched, every heartbeat a drum roll. Sold, to the boy in the blue jacket. Relief crashed over Adam, but it was quickly replaced by nervous excitement. He had done it. He had bought the bobcat. But now came the real challenge, saving its life. With the receipt in hand, he hurried toward the loading area where the animals were claimed. The staff looked at him skeptically, but after verifying his purchase, they handed over the cage. Adam knelt beside it, peering inside. The bobcat barely acknowledged him. Its breathing was slow, and it let out a weak, raspy sound, more like a sigh than a growl. Adam's heart clenched. "I won't let anything bad happen to you," he whispered, determination hardening in his chest. The ride home was silent. Adam sat in the truck beside his father, the bobcat's cage carefully placed in the back. His father, a man of few words, had raised an eyebrow when he realized what Adam had done, but he hadn't said no. That, in itself, was permission enough. As they pulled up to their modest farmhouse, Adam hopped out and carefully carried the cage toward the barn. He had spent countless hours here, helping his father with livestock. But this was different. This wasn't just an animal. It was a life depending entirely on him. Inside the barn, he laid an old blanket in a corner, setting the cage nearby. With slow, cautious movements, he unlatched the door and stepped back. The bobcat didn't move. Adam's throat tightened. He needed food, water, medicine, something to help. Rushing inside the house, he rummaged through the kitchen, grabbing a bowl and filling it with fresh water. He returned to the barn and set it down near the bobcat. The animal barely reacted. What if he was too late? No, he couldn't think like that. He had to try harder. He sprinted to the shed, grabbing an old first aid kit. Inside were bandages, ointments, things his father used on farm animals when they got injured. It wasn't much, but it was something. Kneeling beside the bobcat, he spoke softly. "I don't know if you can understand me, but I promise I'm going to help you." Slowly, he reached out, his fingers barely brushing against its fur. The bobcat flinched, a feeble movement, but a sign of life nonetheless. Adam smiled, hope flickering in his chest. This was only the beginning. The next morning, Adam woke before the sun, the weight of responsibility pulling him out of bed. He hurried to the barn, still in his pajamas, his heart pounding with worry. Had the bobcat made it through the night? He pushed open the barn doors and stepped inside. The dim light revealed the animal, still curled in the corner, but something was different. The water bowl was empty. A surge of relief washed over Adam. It had drunk. That meant there was still hope. He crouched beside the bobcat, studying it carefully. Its breathing was slightly steadier, but it still hadn't moved much. He needed to get it to eat. Adam ran back inside the house, rifling through the fridge. He found some leftover chicken and carefully shredded it into small pieces. He returned to the barn and placed the food near the bobcat. "Come on, buddy," he whispered. "You've got to eat." The bobcat lifted its head weakly, nostrils flaring as it caught the scent. For a moment, Adam thought it might refuse, but then, slowly, it stretched its neck forward and took a small bite. Adam grinned. It wasn't much, but it was progress. Over the next few days, Adam dedicated every spare moment to the bobcat's care. He brought fresh water and food, cleaned its small wounds, and sat with it for hours, talking in soft tones. Slowly but surely, the bobcat began to regain strength. One afternoon, as Adam entered the barn with a fresh bowl of water, he froze. The cage was open. His breath hitched. Had someone let the bobcat out? Had it managed to escape on its own? Panic surged through him as he scanned the barn. Then he heard it, a soft rustling in the hay. He turned slowly and locked eyes with the bobcat. It was standing on shaky legs, watching him warily. Adam smiled, lowering himself to the ground. "Hey there, buddy," he said gently. "Look at you," standing up. The bobcat didn't run. It didn't snarl. It simply watched him, as if trying to understand the boy who had saved its life. For the first time, Adam felt something unspoken pass between them. Trust. He knew, in that moment, that their journey together was far from over. Adam carefully carried the sick bobcat inside his home, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and concern. He gently placed the frail creature on a blanket near the fireplace, watching as it curled up, its breathing shallow but steady. The bobcat's ribs were visible beneath its thin fur, its body weak from whatever illness had taken hold of it. Adam knew he had to act fast if he wanted to save it. He rushed to the kitchen and grabbed a bowl of water, placing it in front of the bobcat. The animal barely lifted its head, sniffing the water but not drinking. Adam frowned. It was worse than he had thought. He quickly searched online for how to care for a sick wildcat and found that hydration was the most important first step. Carefully, he filled a dropper with water and gently squeezed a few drops onto the bobcat's tongue. To his relief, the cat swallowed. Adam continued this process for the next hour, giving the bobcat a small amount of water every few minutes. As the night went on, he stayed by its side, watching for any signs of improvement. The bobcat was too weak to move much, but at least it was drinking now. The next morning, Adam woke up to a soft sound. The bobcat was licking the water bowl, finally drinking on its own. Adam let out a sigh of relief. He knew this was just the beginning, but at least the animal was fighting to stay alive. Determined to help, Adam searched through his fridge and found some chicken. He carefully cooked it without any seasoning, making sure it was safe for the bobcat to eat. He cut it into small pieces and placed it in front of the cat. At first, the bobcat sniffed the food but turned its head away. Adam sighed. "Come on, buddy. You need to eat." He picked up a small piece of chicken and held it near the bobcat's mouth. After a few moments, the cat weakly licked the food, then slowly took a bite. A small smile spread across Adam's face. "That's it, good boy." Over the next few days, Adam dedicated himself to caring for the bobcat. He researched everything he could about its species, making sure he was providing the best care possible. Slowly but surely, the bobcat started to regain its strength. It would lift its head more, stretch its legs, and even attempt to stand. Despite the progress, Adam knew something wasn't right. The bobcat had moments of energy, but it also had sudden spells of exhaustion. Its appetite was inconsistent, and its breathing still seemed labored at times. Adam decided it was time to take the next step. He picked up his phone and called a local wildlife rehabilitation center. "Hi, my name is Adam. I rescued a sick bobcat from an auction, and I've been taking care of it, but I think it needs medical attention." The woman on the other end of the line sounded surprised. "A bobcat? That's quite unusual. Can you bring it in? We have veterinarians who specialize in wildlife." Adam hesitated. Looking at the bobcat resting beside him, he had grown attached to the animal. The thought of handing it over to someone else made his heart ache. But he knew this wasn't about him. It was about giving the bobcat the best chance at survival. "Yeah, I'll bring him in," Adam finally said. He carefully wrapped the bobcat in a soft blanket and placed it in a large crate. The cat let out a weak growl, but didn't resist. Adam gently stroked its head. "Don't worry, buddy. I'm just trying to help." As he drove to the wildlife center, he kept glancing at the crate in the passenger seat. The bobcat's eyes were half closed, its breathing slow but steady. Adam could only hope that he was making the right decision. When he arrived, a team of veterinarians was already waiting. They carefully lifted the bobcat from the crate and placed it on an examination table. Adam watched anxiously as they checked its vitals, examined its fur, and listened to its heartbeat. One of the vets turned to Adam. "You did a good job keeping him stable, but he's still very weak. We need to run some tests to determine what's wrong." Adam nodded. "Please, just do whatever you can to help him." As they took the bobcat into another room, Adam sat in the waiting area, his leg bouncing anxiously. He had done everything he could, but now it was out of his hands. Minutes felt like hours as he waited. Finally, the vet returned. "We found the problem," she said, holding up an x-ray. "Your bobcat has a severe case of malnutrition, and he's also suffering from a respiratory infection. The good news is, with proper treatment, he has a strong chance of recovery." Adam let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "So he's going to be okay?" The vet nodded. "It'll take time, but yes, we're going to keep him here for a few days to monitor him and give him the proper medications." Adam felt a mix of relief and sadness. He was glad the bobcat was getting the care it needed, but the idea of leaving it behind was difficult. He had grown attached to the wild animal, and in some strange way, he felt like they had formed a bond. "Can I visit him?" Adam asked. The vet smiled. "Of course. We'll keep you updated on his progress." Adam nodded, feeling a little better. As he walked out of the clinic, he glanced back one last time, silently promising the bobcat that he would be back soon. Adam visited the wildlife center every day after school, eager to check on the bobcat's progress. Each time he walked through the doors, his heart pounded with anticipation. Would the bobcat recognize him? Was he getting better? On the third day, when Adam stepped into the recovery area, he saw the bobcat sitting up for the first time. Its fur still looked ragged, but its eyes were brighter, more alert. Adam couldn't stop himself from smiling. "Hey, buddy," he said softly. The bobcat flicked its ears but didn't move away. That was a good sign. Adam carefully approached the enclosure, watching as the animal observed him in return. The vet standing beside him chuckled. "Looks like he remembers you." Adam pressed his hand against the glass, and for a moment he could have sworn the bobcat was about to step forward. But then it hesitated, as if torn between instincts and trust. Adam understood. He had read about wild animals and how they never truly lost their instincts, no matter how much they bonded with humans. "How's he doing?" Adam asked, turning to the vet. "Much better. The antibiotics are working, and he's eating regularly now. But he still needs time to regain his strength." Adam nodded, relieved. "So, what happens next? Will he stay here?" The vet sighed. "Well, that's something we need to discuss. He's not fully healthy yet, but he's improving quickly. We'll have to decide whether he's fit enough to be released back into the wild, or if he'll need a more permanent home." Adam's heart sank. He had avoided thinking about that part. The thought of the bobcat being released into the wild after all they had been through together felt wrong. Could he really just let him go? That night, Adam lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind raced with possibilities. The bobcat was a wild animal. He knew that. But something deep inside him told him their journey together wasn't over yet. The next morning, Adam woke up with determination. He grabbed his laptop and began researching wildlife permits, sanctuaries, and the legalities of owning a rescued bobcat. The more he read, the more he realized that keeping a wild animal was no simple task. But there was one possibility: a special permit that allowed trained individuals to care for rescued wildlife under specific conditions. Adam's heart pounded. Could he really do this? Would the officials even allow it? Without wasting another second, Adam went to talk to his parents. His mom and dad listened patiently as he explained everything. The bond he had formed with the Bobcat, how he had cared for it, and how he wanted to apply for a special permit to keep it under supervised care. His father sighed. Adam, I understand you care about this animal, but this isn't like adopting a cat or a dog. Bobcats are wild creatures. I know, Dad, but I've done the research. There's a way. I just need to prove that I can handle it. His mother gave him a concerned look, and if they say no, Adam hesitated. He didn't have an answer for that yet, but he wasn't ready to give up. Then at least I'll know I tried. But if they say yes, then I can give him a real home, a safe place where he'll never have to suffer again. His parents exchanged glances, then nodded. All right, his dad said finally, we'll support you, but you need to do this the right way. Adam wasted no time. He contacted the Wildlife Center and asked about the permit process. To his surprise, the vet was supportive. It's rare, she admitted, but it's not impossible. If you're serious about this, I'll help you. For the next few weeks, Adam dedicated himself to learning everything he could. He took online courses about wildlife rehabilitation, met with experts, and even started setting up a suitable outdoor enclosure for the Bobcat at home. His parents were impressed by his determination, and slowly, the dream of keeping the Bobcat legally started to feel real. But there was still one final step, the official inspection. Adam stood nervously outside his home as two wildlife officers arrived. They walked around the enclosure, asked questions about the Bobcat's diet, medical needs, and long-term care. Adam answered each one with confidence, showing them the research he had done, the training he had completed, and the preparations he had made. Finally, after what felt like hours, one of the officers smiled. Well, Adam, I have to say I'm impressed. You've shown real dedication to this animal. We'll need to finalize some paperwork, but I think you might just be the youngest person to ever apply for this permit. Adam's heart soared. Does that mean? Yes, the officer nodded. You can keep him. Adam could barely contain his excitement. He shook their hands, thanking them over and over. As they left, he turned to his parents, who were watching with proud smiles. You did it, Adam, his mom said softly. But Adam knew this wasn't just about him. It was about the Bobcat. His Bobcat, a creature that had been left to die at an auction, but had now found a second chance at life. That evening, Adam visited the Wildlife Center one last time. When he stepped into the recovery room, the Bobcat was more alert than ever. It lifted its head, ears perked, eyes sharp. Adam knelt beside the enclosure and whispered, "Ready to come home, buddy?" The Bobcat didn't move for a moment. Then, slowly it stepped forward, pressing its nose against the glass between them. For the first time since their journey began, Adam knew, without a doubt, that they were meant to be together. The day had finally arrived. Adam stood outside the Wildlife Center, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had spent weeks preparing for this moment, training, setting up the perfect enclosure, and ensuring that every requirement for Bobcat's care was met. Now, the time had come to take him home. When the vet brought the Bobcat out in a secure transport crate, Adam felt a surge of emotion. The once sick and frail animal now looked stronger. His fur, though still rough in places, had regained some of its luster. His eyes, once dull by illness, now held a sharp, intelligent glint. "Are you ready for this?" the vet asked, smiling as she secured the crate in the back of Adam's dad's truck. Adam nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. More than ever. His parents exchanged a look before his dad patted him on the back. "All right, let's get him home." The drive home was quiet, except for the occasional rustle from the crate. Adam kept glancing back, hoping the Bobcat wasn't too scared. The Wildlife Center had sedated him lightly to ease the transition, but Adam still worried. Would the Bobcat adapt? Would he accept his new home? When they finally arrived, Adam carefully carried the crate to the outdoor enclosure he had built. It was spacious, with sturdy fencing, natural climbing structures, and a cozy, insulated shelter in one corner. He had even planted some small trees and placed logs for scratching and perching. Taking a deep breath, he unlatched the crate door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the bobcat stepped out. He moved cautiously, sniffing the air, ears twitching at the unfamiliar sounds. Adam held his breath, not wanting to startle him. The bobcat took a few tentative steps, then turned to look at Adam. For a brief second, their eyes met, and Adam felt something indescribable pass between them. Trust, recognition, a silent understanding. "Welcome home, buddy," Adam whispered. The bobcat didn't run or hide. Instead, he walked a little further, exploring his new surroundings with careful curiosity. It was a promising start, adjusting to a new life. Over the next few weeks, Adam dedicated himself to the bobcat's care. He named him Talon, inspired by the cat's sharp claws and fierce spirit. Every day after school, Adam would spend hours sitting near the enclosure, letting Talon get used to his presence. He fed him, cleaned his shelter, and observed his behaviors closely, making sure he was adjusting well. At first, Talon remained distant, keeping to the far corners of the enclosure. But as the days passed, he began showing signs of comfort. He no longer flinched at Adam's movements. He started to eat in front of him instead of waiting for Adam to leave. And one afternoon, when Adam sat quietly by the fence, Talon did something unexpected. He came closer. Adam barely breathed. Talon's golden eyes studied him intently before the bobcat let out a low, almost questioning chuff. Adam had read about this. It was a sound wildcats made to communicate, a sign of acknowledgement. His heart swelled with happiness. "Hey, buddy," he murmured. "You're doing great." Challenges along the way. Caring for Talon wasn't always easy. There were nights when the bobcat would pace restlessly, unsettled by the new environment. Sometimes he refused to eat, making Adam worry if something was wrong. And then there was the biggest challenge, balancing his own life with Talon's care. Adam's schoolwork started piling up. His friends noticed he wasn't hanging out as much. Even his parents grew concerned. Adam, his mom, said one evening, "We're proud of what you're doing, but you can't let this take over your life. You need balance." Adam sighed. He knew she was right. He had been so focused on Talon that he had neglected everything else. He needed to find a way to manage both. So he made a plan. He set a daily schedule for Talon's feeding, playtime, and care, making sure it fit around his schoolwork. He also started teaching his younger sister, Lily, how to help, giving her small tasks like refilling Talon's water or keeping an eye on his behavior. To his surprise, Lily loved it. "He's like a big, wild kitty," she giggled one day as she watched Talon from a safe distance. Adam chuckled. "Yeah, but he's still a bobcat. You have to respect his space." Lily nodded seriously. "I will, but he's kind of amazing." A turning point. One evening, as the sun set in a fiery blaze across the sky, Adam sat near Talon's enclosure, lost in thought. The bobcat was lounging on a raised platform, his tail flicking lazily. Then, out of nowhere, he stood up, stretched, and slowly made his way toward Adam. Adam stayed still, his pulse quickening. Talon stopped just a few feet away, his eyes locked onto Adam's. And then he sat down. Adam exhaled softly. It was the closest Talon had ever come voluntarily. It was a sign of trust, a silent bond growing stronger each day. For the first time since he had brought Talon home, Adam truly believed that everything would be okay. As the days turned into weeks, Talon's transformation became more evident. His once frail body had grown strong, his coat thick and healthy. The once timid bobcat now moved with confidence, his sharp golden eyes observing everything with keen intelligence. But despite the bond he had formed with Adam, there was something restless in his nature, something wild that couldn't be tamed. Adam had read countless articles about rehabilitating wild animals, and one thing was clear: a bobcat was not meant to be a pet. No matter how much he cared for Talon, the animal's true home was in the wild. This realization was bittersweet, filling Adam with both pride and sorrow. He had saved Talon's life, but he knew he couldn't keep him forever. The first signs of change. One evening, as Adam sat outside the enclosure, tossing a small rubber ball near the fence, Talon did something unexpected. Instead of pouncing on it playfully like before, he barely glanced at it. His ears twitched at the distant sound of rustling leaves. His gaze locked on something beyond the fence. Adam followed his stare and saw a squirrel darting up a tree. Talon's muscles tensed, his body low to the ground. It was pure instinct, his wild nature taking over. Adam felt a pang in his chest. It was a sign that Talon was beginning to crave something more than the safety of the enclosure. He wanted to roam freely, to hunt, to live as he was meant to. Later that night, Adam lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He had always known this day would come, but he had avoided thinking about it. Could he really let Talon go? Would he survive out there on his own? Preparing for the inevitable. The next morning, Adam made a decision. If Talon was going to return to the wild, he had to be ready. He spent the next several days reducing human interaction with Talon, allowing him to rely more on his instincts. He introduced live prey, mice and rabbits, to encourage his hunting skills. At first, Talon hesitated, unsure of what to do, but instinct soon took over. The first time he caught his own meal, Adam felt a mix of pride and sadness. Adam's parents noticed a shift. "Are you thinking of releasing him?" his dad asked one evening. Adam nodded. "I have to. He's getting restless. It wouldn't be fair to keep him here." His mom placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's a brave decision, Adam, and the right one. But just because it was right didn't make it easy." The hardest goodbye. The day of Talon's release arrived. Adam had chosen a wildlife reserve miles away from the city, a place where bobcats thrived. It was a protected area with plenty of food, water, and space for Talon to roam freely. The car ride was quiet. Talon, now much larger and stronger than before, lay inside the crate, his golden eyes watching Adam through the small opening. Adam wondered if Talon knew what was happening. When they arrived, Adam carried the crate deep into the woods. The air was crisp, the scent of pine filling his lungs. Birds chirped in the distance, and the rustling of leaves signaled unseen creatures moving through the underbrush. It was the perfect place for Talon. Adam knelt beside the crate and unlatched the door. He hesitated for a moment, his hands resting on the top. "You're ready," he whispered. "Go be free." The crate door swung open. For a moment, Talon remained still, his ears twitching, his nose testing the unfamiliar scents. Then, with one powerful leap, he sprang out and landed gracefully on the forest floor. Adam watched in awe. Talon moved with the confidence of a true predator, his body fluid and strong. He took a few cautious steps, his ears flicking back toward Adam. Then, in a flash, he bolted into the trees, disappearing into the wild. A moment of silence. Adam stood there for a long time, staring at the spot where Talon had vanished. His chest ached, but he knew this was how it had to be. Talon belonged here in the wild, where he could live as he was meant to. His dad placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did something incredible, Adam. You gave him a second chance." Adam took a deep breath and nodded. "I just hope he'll be okay." "He will be," his mom assured him, "because of you." As they turned to leave, Adam felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. Talon was free, and that was all that mattered. The drive home was silent. Adam stared out the window, watching the trees blur past, his mind replaying the last glimpse he had of Talon as the bobcat disappeared into the wilderness. The ache in his chest was undeniable, but beneath it was a sense of pride. He had done what was best for Talon. Adjusting to the absence, the house felt emptier without Talon. Adam found himself glancing toward the enclosure out of habit, expecting to see the bobcat curled up in his usual spot. The daily routine of feeding and caring for Talon was gone, leaving a void Adam hadn't anticipated. His mom noticed his quietness. "It's okay to miss him," she said, sitting beside him at the kitchen table. Adam nodded. "I know. I just keep wondering, what if he struggles? What if something happens to him?" His dad set down his coffee. "You prepared him well. Son, he was strong when he left. He'll find his way." Still, Adam couldn't shake the uncertainty. He had spent months ensuring Talon was healthy and capable, but out there, anything could happen. An unexpected encounter. A few weeks passed, and winter began creeping in. The first snowfall covered the ground in a thin layer of white, transforming the landscape. Adam often took long walks near the woods, half hoping, half dreading that he might catch a glimpse of Talon. But there was no sign of him. Then, one afternoon, something unusual happened. Adam was stacking firewood when he heard a rustling sound near the edge of property. He turned, his heart pounding. At first, he saw nothing but the swaying trees. Then, a flicker of movement, a pair of golden eyes watching him from a distance. Adam froze. It was Talon. The Bobcat stood just beyond the fence line, his coat thick and glossy, his posture strong. He looked every bit like the wild creature he was meant to be. But what struck Adam the most was that Talon hadn't run. He was watching him, his ears twitching, as if debating whether to step closer. Adam's breath caught in his throat. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just stood there, letting the moment stretch between them. Talon blinked slowly, his tail flicking once before he turned and, with effortless grace, disappeared back into the forest. Adam exhaled a deep, shaky breath. It was only a few seconds, but it meant everything. Talon was alive. He was thriving, and, in his own way, he had come back, if only to say goodbye. The lesson learned. That night, as Adam lay in bed, he thought about everything that had happened since the auction. He had saved a life. He had given Talon a second chance. And in return, Talon had taught him something invaluable. That love sometimes meant letting go, even when it hurt. The next morning, Adam woke up with a new sense of purpose. He had done something incredible, but this wasn't the end of his journey. There were other animals out there, other creatures in need of help. Maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning. As he stepped outside, the crisp winter air filling his lungs, Adam glanced toward the forest one last time. "Goodbye, Talon," he whispered. "Be free." And with that, he turned back toward the house, ready for whatever came next.